Welcome to Cut the Loop, where I sit you down for an unspecified period of time and go into way too much detail about a movie or a TV show that I liked. Today we're going to be going through the film Goodachari. It's a Telugu film and it's a spy/action thriller. I'm not going to lie, it starts off kind of slow and you may get bored in the beginning of the episode, but I swear it picks up steam really well. And the whole thing about this movie is that they gaslight you really hard all the way until the very end. I hope you've got yourself a drink because I'm going to drop you right in. The story starts off in the mountains of Sikkim. There are these two mountain ranges that are being separated by a river, and on the river is a boat with a handful of men. And the way that this portion of the film is filmed is that we don't actually see the entirety of what's happening at this point. Instead, we're shown a snippet before the screen goes black, and then another snippet, and then the screen goes black. So keep that in mind. So one of the boatmen is looking through a pair of binoculars, kind of surveying the land around him before sitting down and taking a look at a map with the rest of his teammates. And based off of the music that's playing at this point in the film, the whole vibe of this scene is that these men are on some sort of secret mission. They land on the shores of Sikkim and they approach this bridge. The bridge is kind of serving as a connection between the two mountain ranges. So the men from the boat pull out their guns and they start heading towards this bridge when all of a sudden bullets start firing. We can't tell who shot the first shot and we can't really see the attackers' faces. But the one thing that we can see pretty clearly is that one of the attackers has gotten so close to the boatman that he's able to kill two of the boatmen, shoot another man in the leg, and fatally wound the last one by shooting him near the heart. The one with the heart wound somehow manages to gather enough strength to shoot the attacker just one more time. And this gives the man who got shot in the leg enough time to kind of gather his senses, grab his gun, and shoot the attacker as well. And with two bullet wounds in him, the attacker falls over the railing of the bridge into the river below. The boatman who got shot in the leg rushes over to his wounded teammate, the one who got shot in the heart. He gets down onto his knees, and while holding the man, he sobs his heart out. And he's the only one who was left from their team from this mission. The next time we see this man, he's in a wheelchair apologizing to this 9-year-old boy. "I'm sorry, Gopi, I couldn't save your father." Before Gopi can ask what that even means, the man gets wheeled away to meet with Mr. Acharya. And during this meeting, we learn a little bit more about what we just saw. The boatman's name is Satya, and he is Gopi's maternal uncle. Gopi is the little boy that he was apologizing to earlier. And Satya's younger sister had married Gopi's father, Raghuveer, but his sister had died during childbirth, and now in that forest, Gopi has lost his father. We also learned that Satya, Raghuveer, and co went to Sikkim because they had gotten word that somebody was leaking Trinetra's internal information to a group that I'm going to call L. And the vibe of Trinetra is that it's this super secretive organization that is part of the Indian government and is doing probably some undercover work. So they went to investigate who the mole was that was leaking this investigation and to what extent the breach was. But in that process, Satya lost Raghuveer. And to top it all off, he found out that Al knows everything about Trinetra. They had somehow managed to get their hands on a list of their undercover agents, their addresses, and even their family details. It's a complete breach. Hearing this, Mr. Acharya orders a complete shutdown of the entire organization. Their offices all over India start burning documents, destroying computers, and closing their office doors. Meanwhile, Satya is making plans to leave Delhi with Gopi. But first, he decides to fake their deaths. Satya gets into his car, crashes it into some tree near a country road, and then he calls in a bunch of favors from his news reporter friends. The next morning, Satya and Gopi's faces are plastered all over the news. A nephew-uncle duo dead on the spot after a car crash. With that settled, Satya takes Gopi to their new hometown of Rajahmundry, and as soon as they set foot in the city, Satya takes them to this little nursery, so like a flower shop, and he tells Gopi that if anything is to ever go wrong or he needs Satya for any reason, this is where they'll meet up. They go inside and Satya asks the owner of the shop, whose name is Ramaya, to bring him a basil plant. Ramaya honestly looks shocked, like, "What are you doing here?" But he snaps out of it and hands Satya a small potted basil plant. And as Satya and Gopi walk away, Satya tells Gopi one more thing. "Remember this, Gopi. Ramaya is the only one you can trust." And then he digs his hands into the soil of the basil plant and pulls out a key. the key to their new house. So all this that's going on is very hush-hush, very secretive because of the information that Al has managed to gain on Trinitra. He's probably doing this to keep Gopi safe. That night, the two of them settle into their new house before going to bed, but Gopi wakes up crying in the middle of the night. Satya rushes over trying to console him, and Gopi can't help but ask if his dad will be home tomorrow. It is his birthday after all. Hearing this, Satya grabs Gopi's shoulders and sternly says, "Gopi, look at me. From now on, your birthday is no longer in August, your father's name is not Raghavir, and your birthplace is not Delhi, and your name is not Gopi." The very next morning, Satya gives Gopi a whole new birth certificate. His new name is now Arjun. Satya will continue to call Arjun as Gopi for the rest of the film, but I am, just for the sake of making the storytelling easier, I'm going to continue calling him Arjun, regardless of what Satya calls him. Now let's fast forward 20 years. Arjun has graduated college with a degree in computer science, but he spends every waking minute applying to government agencies. I'm talking the FBI's and the CIA's of India. Arjun, of course, still keeps in touch with Satya, and they've settled into this very cute father and son relationship. Satya is still absolutely crazy about making sure as few people as possible know about their existence. For example, the only way Arjun can ever actually contact Satya is via a public phone booth. Satya justifies it by saying that cell phones are easily trackable, which is true, but it's 2017 and Arjun is understandably having a really hard time finding a functioning payphone. But as cute as their relationship is, there is one thing that they always fight over, and today's phone call is no different. Satya finds out that Arjun rejected yet another software engineering job. "Arjun, this is the 7th job you've rejected." "Dad, you know what kind of job I want. Is it so wrong to want to be like my father?" And Satya says, "Is it so wrong for me to hope you don't end up like him?" They hang up and Arjun rushes back to his apartment to check his email. He's looking for any responses that he can get to his applications. He checks every single tab in his email, but nothing. I mean, forget an acceptance email, right? This man doesn't even have a single rejection email. You know how they have those automated ones where like, "It's not you, it's me. We are just looking for somebody different at this point." And honestly, Arjun is at a loss for words. He sent 174 applications, but not even one response. Arjun starts racking his brains for what he could possibly be writing on there that is so wrong. And he thinks, just one more application. He opens up the raw online application and starts filling out his information. Name, Arjun Kumar. Date of birth, June 12th, 1988. Has anyone in your family ever been employed by our organization? On autopilot, he types no, but then he stops. He replaces the no with a yes and then adds the name, the late Mr. Raghavir, and then submits the application. Now fast forward a few more months. Arjun is back in front of his laptop, desperately looking through his email for just any responses, but it's just as clean as it was a few months ago. His eyes start tearing up and he gets up from his desk and makes his way over to a photo of his dad that he has hung up on the wall. So in a lot of Indian households, what you'll see is you'll have like a portrait of your parents if they've passed away or your grandparents if they've passed away, kind of hung up on the wall, and there'll be like this flower garland that's surrounding the frame. So he adjusts this flower garland and he starts venting. "Happy birthday, Dad. I always ask Uncle to tell me about you. He told me that you always had a smile on your face, that you were a prankster. No, I'm kind of like that too, except my comedic timing is always off. You joined the army and then went on to join RAW to serve your country. Since I was a kid, that was all I've ever wanted to do. But when I wanted to join the army at 18, young Uncle yelled at me. He didn't agree and he still doesn't agree. That's why I applied to so many places without telling him, but no one responded. All I need is just one chance." And that's when his phone rings. Don't get too excited, it's not who you think it is, it's Arjun's friend. He's calling because it's his birthday today and he's hosting a birthday party. And that's how Arjun finds himself at this little rooftop party where everybody is having the time of their lives. They're drinking, talking, dancing, but all he can think about is how as the days pass, his dreams get farther and farther. He excuses himself for a quick breather and he's just looking around when he hears a conversation between two men. They're talking about a woman who works downstairs. She's been rejecting their advances for the past few months, and they're finally fed up with it. If she refuses today as well, they're not going to let her go that easily. With that, they head out, and Arjun follows them at a distance. I mean, if he wants to be an agent, he can't just sit there and, pretend that he didn't hear anything. As he follows them, though, he realizes that the situation might be a little bit more dangerous than he had initially expected. The two men have put on ski masks so they can't be identified, and one of them has pulled out a knife. They get into the elevator, but Arjun is too far behind to get in with them. But he sees the elevator numbers going down all the way until the level B2. So he takes the stairs and rushes down into the basement. By the time he gets there, the men are already dragging their victim by her hair. The woman is struggling with all of her might while yelling for help, and Arjun runs towards them while yelling, "Stop! Hey, what are you doing?" The two men let go of the girl and they pull out their guns and aim it at Arjun. Arjun stops dead in his tracks with his hands up, and everyone is at a standstill for a few seconds. When a third masked man jumps Arjun from behind, Arjun gets shoved into the back of a van, and all three of the masked men get in after him. So now Arjun is the one that's getting kidnapped. As the van takes off, the girl who was screaming for help a couple of seconds ago stops shaking in her boots, pulls out her phone to check if her makeup is doing okay, and then she speaks into her earpiece. The target is in the van. In the back of the van, Arjun is getting pummeled. One of them keeps punching him while asking him questions about Satya, like where he is. And Arjun takes about 10 punches before screaming, "Who the fork is Satya?" The second attacker pushes the first attacker to the side and pulls out his gun. He pushes the barrel against Arjun's forehead. What about now? Still don't know who Satya is? Arjun takes a deep breath and says, "I don't know who Satya is." The pressure of the gun on his forehead increases, and Arjun can see the attacker increasing the pressure on the trigger, and he closes his eyes, accepting his fate, when a voice from the back says, "Stop." From the back of the dimly lit van, an older, more professional-looking man comes out smoking a cigar, and he has two simple questions for Arjun. Why do you want to join Raw? Is it to be like your father? "You know my father, sir?" Instead of answering, the suited man takes a drink from his flask while staring at Arjun. "My father is my strength, but my reason is my country." Huh. CBI, NIA, IB, Foreign Affairs. 174 applications. You didn't leave a single stone unturned. Seeing if you would help out a stranger was one part of the test, and seeing if you would spill about Satya was the second. You passed both. You have all the qualities, but you lack one thing: technique. The man takes another puff of his cigar before signaling to the driver. The van pulls back into the same parking garage that Arjun was taken from, and he gets thrown out onto the floor near the feet of the woman he was trying to save in the first place. She tells him that they've sent coordinates to his phone, and if he wants to know what's going on, he better be there by 10 p.m. Not 10 p.m., 10 a.m. tomorrow. She gets into the car and then drives off, ignoring all of Arjun's follow-up questions. The next morning, Arjun finds himself in front of a tailorman, and he's confused. This is a clothing store where men and women go to either buy suits or get their suits altered. So why do they want to meet him here? Did they want him to get a suit or something? He heads inside and immediately catches the attention of a couple of people working in the shop. He approaches one of the salespeople, and before he can even get a single word out, he gets interrupted. "The alteration room is over there." Okay. Arjun makes his way into a staff-only alteration room, and in here he meets Shyam, a 30-something-year-old man who is extremely sarcastic. "What's your name?" "Hi, I'm Arjun." "Huh, do you go around giving your name out to everyone?" "This is why I told them that we shouldn't hire kids, but they don't listen to me." Shyam pulls Arjun to stand in front of this iris scanner that looks oddly like a smoke detector. This has absolutely nothing to do with the story, but I just thought it was funny. Do you guys ever wonder like how sounds and props are made for movies? I know Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs has some really funky ways that they use to make the food falling sounds, but I'm not really sure about ones about props, but I think there'll be some pretty funny ones there. Anyway, he gets pulled to stand in front of this iris scanner that looks like a smoke detector. And once the iris scanner welcomes Arjun, Shyam is able to verify Arjun's background, and he pulls Arjun to stand in front of this shelf that's filled with suits. With the press of a button from Sham's phone, the shelves of the shelf with the suits starts to separate, revealing an elevator. They ride the elevator down into an office that looks much more like a government HQ. Sham leads Arjun down a hallway into a conference room where his kidnapper is giving the rest of the people in the room a presentation. Of course, he stops speaking once Arjun walks in. "You're late." "Sorry, sir, the elevator just took a while." And we learn this a little later on in the story, but the man giving the presentation, his name is Damodar. So Arjun's kidnapper / the person giving the presentation is Damodar. And I'm gonna start using it now just to make the story easier to follow along. "Sit down, Arjun. As I was saying, any of you can die in the next 20 minutes. In this line of work, you're lucky if you live for the next 20 years. Do you all see the file in front of you? Inside, you'll find a contract. Before I can say or do anything else, all of you need to sign it. The contract states that everything we discuss must remain in this office, and we as an organization are not responsible for any of your deaths." At this announcement, the room freezes. "What do you mean you won't be responsible for our deaths? If we die in another country, you won't bring us back home?" But at the back of the room, the sound of a pen click echoes. Arjun is signing the contract without a second thought. Soon, the rest of the room follows and the orientation continues. Ra protects India from outside threats, while IB and police protect India from within. The Army, Navy, and Air Force guard our borders. And there's only one entity that can coordinate them all. That's us, Trinaitra. And you six were chosen out of the 40,000 Ra applicants we had this past year. So, what is Trinaitra? Well, Ra can't function in India, and the IB and police can't function outside of India. But we can go anywhere because no one knows we exist. We don't fall under the Constitution, and we report directly to the Prime Minister's office. Our duty is to infiltrate, investigate, and inform. Trinaitra was started after the 1993 Mumbai blast, but in 1995 we experienced the biggest data breach in Indian history. In the crossfires of that, we lost some of our best agents. After that, we had to shut down, but then the 26/11 Mumbai attacks happened, and the PM realized that there are enemies among us. There was a need for Trinaitra again. Until yesterday, we only had branches in Delhi and Mumbai, and as of today, we have a branch in Hyderabad. From the back of the room, Arjun interrupts. "What else? I mean, you're sharing all of this secret information in this secret place so openly. What if someone leaks the information?" Damodar smirks. 2 years ago, you submitted your first Raw application from your university library. You had a girlfriend back then. 2 months ago, she broke up with you because she felt that you didn't care enough about her. 2 days ago, you tried to flirt with a girl at a club, but she blew you off, and that hurt your ego. 2 minutes ago, you cursed out Sham behind his back for one of the sarcastic comments that he made. Behind your jokes, there's a serious intellectual. You use your humor as a defense mechanism. You didn't put any of this on your application, but we know, because Trinaitra is always watching. Damodar looks around the room before asking, "Any more questions?" And everybody just shakes their head no, because nobody really wants to be exposed like that. And Damodar starts leading them through the training center. This is where they'll be spending the next 6 months training in cyber warfare, combat and tactical weaponry, and undercover ops. And based off of their results in each of these sections, they'll get assigned to a department. And Arjun, being the cocky little butt he is, goes, "What happens if you're good at everything?" But he has no business being that cocky because he sucks. One of his teammates, Mohammed, has some sort of vendetta against him. He wipes the floor with Arjun during hand-to-hand combat. He refuses to help him during any of their hacking tasks, and he mocks Arjun when Arjun fails to trick the lie detector. Let me take a step back to explain what their training consists of. First, we have hand-to-hand combat, which is run by Nadia, who is also the woman that was pretending to get kidnapped in the garage when Arjun got recruited. So this section is basically where they get trained on all kinds of martial arts. Nadia also teaches them how to use like weapons, so things like guns, snipers, grenades, just anything you can think of. Next is cyber warfare. So this part is run by Sham, the sarcastic 30-year-old man. And in here, you kind of learn how to hack anything with a microchip in it, so really anything that's electronic. This means your laptops, your phones, CCTV footages, ATMs, cars, etc. And last but not least is undercover ops, which is run by Damodar. Well, partly. So the part that isn't run by Damodar is the language section, which is run by native speakers of that language. But Damodar does the rest of it, which is basically like teaching them how to cheat lie detectors or show them how to control their heart rates, their breathing, their respiration. He also teaches them how to observe their surroundings. For example, he often takes them to the center of town and he asks them to look around, then to tell him what they've observed, and after a couple minutes they all tell him like little things, right? Like what the person to the right is wearing, or if somebody's wearing a red jacket, or that there's somebody drinking tea by the tea stall, or there are like 4 people behind me or something like that. And then Damodar asks them who they think the imposter is. Who do they think poses a threat to this center? And in this particular case, Damodar asked them to look at the man sitting by the tea shop. Why is he reading an Urdu paper left to right when both you and I know that Urdu is read right to left? Now back to the main events. Arjun has just gotten back to his apartment building after either a long day of training or just being somewhere. And he's waiting in the lobby for an elevator when he crashes into somebody, or I guess somebody crashes into him more precisely. A young woman carrying boxes had crashed into him. This woman is apologizing profusely while she's trying to pick up her fallen things, and Arjun goes to help her pick things up when he gets a good look at her face, and his intentions shift. Are you new here? She smiles and nods. Oh, then let me help you. He helps her carry all of her boxes to her apartment, and what do you know? She's actually moved into the apartment complex right in front of his. Not complex, apartment unit right in front of his. I don't think I ever introduced myself. I'm Arjun, and I live in the unit in front of you. Hi, I'm Samira. I live in this apartment. Do you want coffee? Arjun nods, so Samira turns around to start making coffee, and the entire time she's making coffee, he's just checking her out. When she's done, she turns around, hands him his coffee, and sits down next to him. How's the coffee? Good. Really, really good. You're good too, Arjun. Sorry, what? What? I saw you checking me out. You were keeping your feelings to yourself, and I didn't. Don't worry, it just takes some time to get used to me. She pulls out her business card and hands it to Arjun. Wow, an MA in psychology from Harvard. Impressive. I was born in Calcutta, July 29th, zodiac sign Leo, raised in Vizag, pursued a master's in Harvard, set up a practice in Hyderabad. And you? What do you do? Other than flirting with strangers, that is. And then we cut to Arjun at a payphone speaking to his dad, Satya. I'm working at Tailorman now, Dad. Since when did you take an interest in fashion? Dad, don't you want me to be happy? What's your position? Floor manager. And when he says this, we see little clips of him getting, tossed onto the floor by Muhammad during hand-to-hand combat. So he really is a floor manager, just not in the way that one would expect. So what does a floor manager do? I order people to pick things up that have fallen on the floor and like plus accounts, inventory, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, really? Quit the bullshit and get in the car. Satya was behind Arjun during the entirety of their conversation. Arjun wordlessly gets into the car and Satya brings him to the edge of town. We're going back to Rajmundry. What? Why? What happened? You think I don't know what's going on? I left Trinetra, not the friends I made in Trinetra. This is not what I wanted for you. But Dad, this is what I want. Then change what you want. You'll die just like your father. I'm worried that something might happen to you. For how long, Dad? For how long are we going to keep meeting at the edge of the city because someone might see us speaking? How long do we have to keep using payphones? I'm doing this for my country. Dad, you might have forgotten the feeling after Father died, but I know you felt it before. I have to go. I'm not a kid anymore. And as Arjun walks away, it's faint, but you can make out a little bit of pride in Satya's face. The next morning, Damodar is telling the recruits about Rana, the masked leader of Al. He's a terrorist that no one can see because he always wears a mask. No one knows where he resides, but he's a little criminal mastermind. It's reported that he was behind the Mumbai train blast, the Varanasi temple blast, and he might have been the one who provided logistical support for the Taj attacks. Rana is the most important leader in Al. The mention of Al triggers one of Arjun's childhood memories. Arjun had actually spied on the conversation between Satya and Mr. Acharya all those years ago, so he knows exactly how his father died. The next morning, Arjun is startled awake from his bed by his doorbell ringing. He opens the door to Samira's lovely face. Hi, today's your birthday, right? You did your MBA at ISB, zodiac sign Gemini, birthday June 12th. That's all there was on your Facebook. You're gonna have to tell me the rest. She pulls out a cake from behind her back and she steps into the house looking around. None of your friends came? No, I don't really celebrate birthdays. Then why don't we celebrate starting this year? I'll be here. And that's how they start dating. Unlike his personal life though, his professional life is tanking. He's at the bottom of his batch, and to make everything worse, Muhammad is rank number 1. Nadia comes up to him one day after training and asks if he really is Raghuvir's son, because his results speak otherwise. He goes home that night and can't help but seek comfort from Samira. I'm at Taylorman now, but ever since I was a kid, all I wanted to do was just be like my dad. Do you think I'm taking my company training too lightly? Am I even worth it? Are those your questions or theirs, Arjun? Okay, tell me this. What is your goal? To join that company? Let me tell you something, Arjun. When I was younger, Harvard was my only dream. I worked hard and I got in. I was ecstatic, but in my 3rd year, I got a letter from the dean. My grades were so bad that he wanted me to leave the university, and I couldn't help but feel that I wasn't taking my own dreams seriously. It was then that I realized that my dream wasn't to get into Harvard. It was so much bigger than that. Now tell me, what's your goal? Is it just to join your father's company? And that little speech flips a switch in Arjun's brain. His goal is to serve his country, just like his dad. He starts taking his training much more seriously, and over the course of the next few weeks, he is able to become rank number 2. He was able to figure out a fighting style that worked for him, and he can wipe the floor with everyone except Muhammad. He impresses Sham by being the first one to finish hacking a mainframe. He brings a smile to Damodar's face when, during one of their observation sessions, he accuses Damodar of being a spy, because when they had both entered this little area, they both had bags, and now only Arjun has his. It was a lesson that Arjun shouldn't be afraid of doubting his own teammates. One day, Arjun finishes his hacking tasks when he gets a call from Samira. You said you work at Taylorman, right? Where are you? I can't find you. What? You're here? Oh my god, give me 1 second. I'm in the alteration room. He stands up and basically starts running towards the elevator. The alteration room? I don't see it. Oh, never mind. I found it. She starts heading towards the door and is about to open it when Arjun beats her to it. He's out of breath from all the running, and Samira can't help but joke. It looks like you're working really hard in there. Who's inside? Oh my god, no one is inside. Is that your dad? Hi, Uncle, how are you? Arjun helps her father find some nice clothes before walking them out to their car. Samira, what did you tell him? I asked if he wanted to meet my friend. So, what did he say about me? Samira smiles at him before getting into her car, and that's when Arjun sees it. There's a man standing in the corner of the street with his phone out, looking straight at Arjun. But before he can think too much about it, Samira pops up again. I think he likes you, before getting back into her car and driving off. He doesn't think too much about the man he saw earlier and kind of lets it go, because when he looks back, no one's there. But the next time that he's on a dinner date with Samira, there's another man seated 2 tables away from them, just staring. When Arjun and Samira leave, he gets up, puts on gloves, goes over to their table, and takes Arjun's water glass before leaving the restaurant. Meanwhile, back at HQ, Nadia and Damodar are impressed with Arjun's progress, and they're curious to see who wins this fight. The fight is one between Arjun and Muhammad, and at first Arjun is doing great. Muhammad is lunging at him, trying to land a punch, and Arjun is calm. He's dodging the attacks and only attacking when he sees an opening. One of Arjun's punches lands square on Muhammad's jaw, and Muhammad stops his attacks, checks his jaw before saying, "This is it? This is the hardest you can punch me? Your foes are gonna have an easy time with you, just like they did with your father." And these words catch Arjun off guard. Muhammad punches him in the face, knocking Arjun out, and in the back, Damodar gets frustrated. He calls Arjun to practice his lying skills. Did Al kill your father? No. The lie detector caught his lie. I'm sorry, sir, but I just don't understand how he knew about my father. I told him. I wanted to test you. You hid the truth about your father in the first 174 applications, and you revealed it in the 175th. You say that your father is your greatest strength, but I say he's your greatest weakness. It's only if you can get past this weakness that is your father that you can serve your country. And I guess Arjun needed to hear that because the next few days he's able to beat Muhammad in hand-to-hand combat and cheat the lie detector when asked about his biological father. As everything is going well, Sham calls Arjun into his office. Here's Samira's file. What? Don't tell me that you thought we didn't know about her. She literally came to the store upstairs. But it looks like you found yourself a fantastic woman. She's not the party type, has no previous boyfriends, and no parents, so no drama. No parents? What do you mean, no parents? He grabs the file from Sham, and inside is a death certificate of her father. But how is that possible? He literally met her father a couple days ago. He gets onto his bike and heads towards Samira's office. Who was that the other day? The man you brought into my workplace? What? Arjun, I'm with a patient. Let's talk about this later. It's not okay to do this in front of them. But it's okay to lie to me? He's not my dad. You met my uncle. 10 years ago, my mom and dad died on a beach in Vizag. It was a drowning accident. In an instant, the life that I had imagined for myself was gone. Everyone just assumed my uncle was my dad, and you did too, and I let you think that. I'm really sorry that I lied to you, but I don't want your sympathy. Do you know how hard it is to miss your parents so much every day, but you have to put on a smile for the rest of the world? He does. Arjun knows that pain better than most, but he can't tell her that, so he leaves. The next day, Samira gets a call from Axis Bank, and they tell her that they got a request for a name change on locker number 135. Confused, she heads to the bank to see what in the world is in locker 135, and the bank employee leads her to the locker, and inside is this little wooden box with a bunch of baby photos of this little boy, an old birth certificate of someone named Gopi, and a letter for her. Sorry, Samira. I also lied to you about a few things. The world knows me as Arjun, but that's a lie. That's why the name on this locker is Gopi. But Gopi doesn't exist. My birthday is not June 12th, it's August 19th. The dad that is in Rajamundry is not my dad, he's my uncle. And he's the one who raised me, but I grew up missing my dad. I know exactly what it feels like to be missing your parents and pretending to be happy. Samira, you came into my life and you made me laugh. You made me fall in love with you. You know, they say that love means giving the other person the ability to destroy your soul, but it also means trusting them enough not to. Samira, my birthday is August 19th and my name is Gopi. By this point, as the letter was being narrated to us, Samira has made her way to the edge of the city where Arjun is waiting for her. Gopi? Could they find a better name? They laugh and Arjun pulls out a ring from his back pocket. It's okay. We can get married. You're a Leo, right? You can be a little short-tempered, but it's okay. They get engaged before Samira drops Arjun back off at the tailorman, and that's when he sees it again. The same man who was staring at them when Samira's uncle came to visit is now dressed as a construction worker who is pretending to be busy shoveling dirt. But it's clear his attention is on the tailorman. Arjun turns around and is now directly staring at the spy. The spy notices this, looks to his right, catching the eye of another man who is kind of casually resting against a car. And the man against the car realizes that Arjun is staring at him, so he gets into his car and drives away. Arjun turns his attention back to the construction worker and slowly starts taking steps towards him when the man breaks out into a run. Arjun chases him down alleyway after alleyway, but eventually loses sight of him. And the spy, seeing that he's lost Arjun, takes a little bit of a breather before pulling out his phone. Sir, he's seen me. I can't follow him anymore. When? He grabs a pen out of his pocket and starts writing something on the palm of his hand when another hand covers his. Arjun has found him. Arjun shoves him to the ground so that he's kneeling and his arm is extended to Arjun's right. And Arjun positions the spy so that he can see what's written on the palm. And there, in red ink, are the numbers 1112. Before Arjun can get the spy to spill his guts about what these numbers mean, bullets start firing at him. The man who had gotten into his car and driven away near the tailorman is now coming back to help his buddy. Arjun rushes to take cover by a barrel, and the spy takes this chance to get off the ground and go and get into the car. Arjun tries to chase after the car, but of course he can't because he's a human and is not fast enough. He goes back to HQ to report the incident to Damodar, Nadia, and Sham. 11/12, so December 11th. I feel like they're planning to do something on this date, ma'am. I've noticed this man 2 times already. And Sham speaks up. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but Nadia says that there's no such thing as coincidences in our business. You have to be specific, Arjun. And she's talking about the sketch that he's gonna need to give one of those face artists that the police usually have. Damodar, meanwhile, is outside reporting about the incident to his boss, Mr. Acharya. No, sir, our location has not been compromised. Yes, sir, the Alpha team is already running a photo match on the sketches. We're checking all the traffic cameras and CCTV footages. Sir, about tomorrow's selections. And inside the room, Sham has the same exact question. Ma'am, is Mr. Acharya coming from Delhi tomorrow for the selections? We learned that tomorrow, November 11th, is the day that the recruits will get their positions, and Mr. Acharya, as the head of Trinetra, will be attending the ceremony. But Damodar doesn't want what is happening with the selections tomorrow to affect the investigation. They've made sure that security is really tight and impenetrable, so everyone else should just continue with the investigation. Later that day, Arjun is back at a payphone on the phone with his dad. Thanks for the cufflinks, Dad. But why aren't you coming? You can come and stay for the week. It's not that I want you to come for selections. There's just someone I want you to meet. And while he's saying this, Samira, who is also with him at the phone booth, yells, "Hi, Uncle!" She grabs the phone away from Arjun. "Hi, Uncle. I'm Samira, Gopi's friend. Don't worry, I'm a good person and I have pretty good qualifications." He told you everything? Just his feelings. Uncle, tell me something. You don't want to come tomorrow, right? I mean, if you wanted to, you wouldn't have sent the cufflinks in the post. Satya stutters to explain himself. It's okay, Uncle. When we get some free time, we'll come and visit you. And they hang up. The next morning, Arjun is getting ready for his big day. He puts on his best suit, attaches the cufflinks that Satya has got for him, shines his shoes, and tries to put on his tie, but quickly realizes that he doesn't know how to do that. So he goes to Samira for help. While she's helping him, she tells him to come home early so that they can go out and celebrate. He leaves to the office with a promise to come back soon, and he shows up at the office with a bottle of whiskey as a present for Damodar with a little note attached. From Arjun, thank you for everything. It's time for the ceremony to begin, so Arjun hands off the whiskey bottle to Sham to go put it in Damodar's office, and all the recruits gather in a room where Damodar makes a quick speech and then calls to Mr. Acharya to give another little speech before Damodar approaches each agent to give them their medals. Leena Rajan, you've been assigned to our embassy in Bangladesh. Uma Vishwanath, same thing, Beijing, China. Ravi Verma and Kishore Krishnamurthy, you'll support Nadia in our tactical team. Mohammed Basha, you're given the responsibility of safeguarding the people of Trinetra, Hyderabad. Mr. Acharya interjects to say that this includes him during his stay in Hyderabad. Damodar nods and then starts walking back to the podium when Arjun stops him. Sir, what about my medal? Oh, right, I forgot to tell you, Arjun, you don't get a medal. You get a number. You asked, right, what happens if you're good at everything? They bring out a machine and have Arjun put his left forearm into it, and I'm not sure what kind of technology they're using, but Arjun, when he brings his hand out, has a permanent barcode that reads Trinetra 116 just on his forearm, but it only is visible to the naked eye when you shine a UV light on it. So it's invisible, otherwise UV light falls on it and then you can see what's actually written over there. Nadia comes up to him with a smile and hands him his gun. And Arjun is going to be an operative out on the field. After everyone got their positions, Mr. Acharya takes the podium one more time to make a long and passionate speech. And while he's giving this speech, we see a couple things unfolding somewhere else. Do you guys remember Arjun's water glass that somebody stole while he was on a dinner date with Samira? So the spies that Arjun got the 1112 clue from extracts the fingerprints from this glass. They also paint this really big van to look like a school bus, and they prepare syringes filled with some sort of drug. and then they disperse out onto the streets. Meanwhile, Arjun has made it back home. He's changed into his casual clothes and he calls Samira to figure out where she is. She assures him that she's almost home and will be in their apartment very soon. Satisfied, he ends the call and he starts browsing through the news channels when something catches his attention. On the bottom of the screen, the weather information for 11-12 is being displayed. Why would anyone ever predict the weather a month in advance? That doesn't make any sense. That means 1112 is referring to shit. Arjun picks up his phone and dials Mohammed. While Arjun was busy figuring out what 1112 means, Mohammed was busy executing his first mission, escorting Mr. Acharya to the airport. Mohammed is in the car with Mr. Acharya and they have one car in front of them and one car behind them filled with security guards. They're riding along the planned route when they get stopped because of some sort of unplanned construction work. They're asked to take a detour to the left, and after checking the validity of the route, Mohammed gives the green light. But just a few seconds into the new route, some random school bus has stopped in the middle of the road. Mohammed orders the security personnel to clear up the traffic jam and fails to notice two things: a motorcyclist who has stopped to their left and a drone that has flown underneath their car. The drone starts releasing this smoke, catching the attention of everyone on the street. Mohammed orders the rest of the guards to check out where the smoke is coming from when he gets a call from Arjun. Mohammed, you're in danger right now. I made a mistake. The date is not next month, it's today. The aim is Mr. Acharya. You need to get out of there. Can you give the phone to Mr. Acharya? Mohammed starts closing all the vents in the car and rolling up all the windows when he notices that all of the security men are lying on the ground, dead. The school bus driver had killed them all. The motorcyclist that Mohammed failed to notice pulls out his gun now and starts shooting at the car window. Mohammed realizes that the best way for them to survive is if he can kill both the motorcyclist and the bus driver. So he gets out of the car from the passenger seat side, shoots the school bus driver dead, but before he can turn his gun to the motorcyclist, he gets shot near the heart. The motorcyclist then approaches Mr. Acharya's window, tilts his head, and starts firing away. While the world outside is going to shit, Damodar is in his office pouring himself a glass of the whiskey that Arjun had got for him. And that's when he gets a phone call from Satya. He finally did it, Satya. He even bought me a gift. Will you finally join the rest of society, or will you keep hiding? While listening to Satya's answer, he takes a sip of the whiskey and why does it taste so weird? He then takes one more sip before suddenly he can't breathe. He starts gasping, trying to get words out for Satya, but all he can do is grunt. Satya is on the other side of the line, freaking out. Damodar? Damodar, what's going on? Damodar! Satya hangs up and calls Arjun instead. Arjun, turn on the TV. Arjun, who at this point has no idea what's going on because all he heard were gunshots from his phone call with Mr. Acharya, sees the news and is shocked. Mr. Acharya is dead. He's so shocked that he doesn't realize that his fiancée is entering his apartment. Her attention is also caught by the news and she turns to tell him something when her voice catches in her throat. And all Arjun can hear is the sound of wind forcing itself through a little bullet-sized hole in his window. She had been sniped. A quick little flashback. So while Arjun was talking to Satya on the phone, staring at the news, the motorcyclist had made his way to a building across from Arjun's, and he had set up his sniper on the roof so that he has a good shot into Arjun's window. He's waiting for the go-ahead from somebody on his phone, and the message he gets right before he shoots is Plan B. Arjun from inside his apartment notices now that there's a laser being pointed from the sniper that's across, the building. And immediately he closes all of his curtains, cutting off the sniper's view of the inside of his apartment. Arjun tries to rush to Samira's fallen body, but he notices movement out of the corner of his eye. Someone is coming at him with a syringe. Arjun quickly knocks this man unconscious, but then someone else comes at him with a syringe. And he's fighting all of these people while trying to get to Samira's dead body. And when he finally reaches her, she's no longer breathing. The news is still playing in the background. There's been a new update in the shooting from today. Authorities say that the bike that was left at the scene belongs to Arjun Kumar. You can also see the gun left here on the scene. Arjun is frozen in shock, but snaps out of it when he hears Satya through his dropped phone. Arjun, pick up the phone. Arjun picks up the phone and says, Dad, That's my bike. Arjun, they're trying to frame you. Arjun, run. Listen to me and run. Outside Arjun's apartment, police sirens are going crazy. Trunitra and the police are closing in on him fast. He shoves a bunch of essentials into his backpack and then starts feeling the spy's body for anything that would help him figure out what in the world is going on. He's emptying their pockets, patting down their bodies, and then he sees something interesting. The sole of one of the spies' shoe is peeling off. Arjun pulls out the rest of the sole, and in the shoe is a phone. He doesn't have time to look through it because the police are in front of his apartment door, attaching a small little explosive to the door so that they can, blast the door wide open and get inside. He detaches the gas pipe from its valve so that gas is now slowly filling his apartment before he gets onto the roof of his apartment building through his apartment window. He makeshifts a harness from this fabric line that he's found on the roof before jumping off his 30-story high apartment building. The exploder that the police have attached to his door goes off, causing the gas in his apartment to ignite, and with that causing a big boom and serving as a distraction, he unties his harness and gets into his car and drives off. Somewhere else, we finally get to see the face of Rana, and for those of you who are watching on YouTube, it's this guy. Rana gets a phone call from one of his spies who went after Arjun. Sir, he escaped. There's not a single scratch on him. Rana's eyes start turning red and he chucks his phone at a wall that's across from him. And back on the streets of Hyderabad, Nadia is in a car receiving updates on the situation at Arjun's apartment. Ma'am, 10 of our agents are dead. Arjun blew up his apartment and ran away. Let's keep going for now. She arrives at a hospital and heads straight towards a room guarded by military personnel. Inside is Mohammed, who is holding on to his last breath. Nadia sits down next to him. I'm sorry, Mohammed. It's Arjun. Mohammed pulls off his oxygen mask. No, ma'am. It's not. He called me before the shooting and he was trying to warn me. I'm sorry that I couldn't save Mr. Achar. And he flatlines. Nadia leaves the room and tells Ravi and Kishore, the other 2 men from Arjun's class, that Mohammed tried to talk, but he couldn't get out anything of relevance. She then tells them to go to Arjun's apartment and start looking for clues. She heads back to the HQ where Sham is ready for her with some new information. Ma'am, Arjun tried to escape in this vehicle. We suspect that he killed Acharya and came home in this school van. His fingerprints are all over the gun that was left at the scene. While Nadia is thinking about what to do, the PM's secretary calls. Is it true that he's one of you? Do you realize how serious the situation is? Whose side is he on? The secretary's venting gets interrupted by Ravi, who has an update for Nadia. 2 crores or 240k USD got deposited into Arjun's account a few hours before the shooting. And he even got calls from this encrypted phone at the same time, but nothing could be traced because, they're encrypted. Also, they found out that there were calls made to Karachi and Dhaka from a satellite phone found in his apartment. The PM secretary speaks up again. Pakistan? Bangladesh? You guys taught him how to disappear, how to hide. You taught him everything he knows. And I don't know what you're gonna do, but find him. Nadia gets the memo loud and clear and immediately sets up a few things. Cut off his financial access. He shouldn't be able to access his bank account. Freeze his debit and credit cards. Inform the national and state highways. Initiate checkpoints, airports, police stations, and all railway stations. Notify Interpol. Arjun should not leave the country at any cost. Sham has a suggestion too. He tells her that they should leak information to the media. Nadia is hesitant but agrees when Sham says that it will for sure lure him out. While Nadia is putting out all of these orders, Arjun is trying to get around town. He realizes that his cards are frozen, so he hacks the ATM, gets the money he needs from his account, and in order to move around the state, he starts hitchhiking on the bottom of trucks, so he doesn't get caught at checkpoints. So usually, most of the time when you're checkpointed as a truck at these locations, right, you're usually looking into spaces to say. So the first one is with the driver, right? You want to make sure nobody's sitting next to the driver. And the second one is in the container of the trucks. You don't want anybody stowing away in there. But you very rarely think about checking underneath the truck. And most trucks seem to have this thing that connects the front of the truck to the back of the truck. And you can hang off of it if you have enough arm and core strength. and also leg strength, I guess. So he's really making his way around by hitchhiking on trucks like this, hanging like a koala off the bottom of these rods. Arjun gets off in Rajahmundry and he tries to blend into this marching protest that's happening nearby when the news starts playing in a TV shop nearby, and he stops his footsteps. The accused blasted his house before the escape, and his girlfriend is found dead. The incident took 4 other lives along with hers. The Bureau suspects them all to be his followers. The protest that Arjun was trying to blend into, however, was being recorded by this news reporter, and the cameraman is slowly moving his camera across the marching people when from a distance he sees someone standing still by a shop. And he looks a whole lot like Arjun, but the cameraman didn't react fast enough because by the time his camera moves back to where he saw the man, the person was gone. He quickly rewinds his footage and sure enough, there he is. That's definitely Arjun. Arjun makes his way to Ramaya's little nursery shop that Satya told him about all those years ago, and he walks up to Ramaya and asks him for a basil plant. Satya had set up CCTV footages all around his house, but also near the nursery when they first moved in, so he sees Arjun heading his way. Satya pulls Arjun inside the house and quickly locks all of the doors. He leads Arjun into this secret little room, his secret agent room, I guess, his retired secret agent room. And Arjun is absolutely distraught. Dad, they killed her. They meant to kill me, but they killed her instead. They used your bike, they transferred 2 crores to your bank account from Dubai. You're their target, Arjun. But why me, Dad? I joined Trinita very recently. Why would they frame me to kill Acharya and Damodar? Why would they even kill me if their intention was to frame me? First, they killed the both of them and put the blame on you. Then, Trinitra will hunt for you. Then, if they kill you, Trinitra will be chasing a ghost forever. Dad, they knew about Acharya's roadmap earlier. And Satya says that means somebody from Trinitra helped them. And Arjun adds, or someone from Trinitra did it. Back at HQ, Nadia is making her way through Arjun's apartment when Kishore tells her that both Damodar and Arjun got a call from the same number, and Damodar's call was just a little bit before he died. The number, however, is still encrypted, so they can't quite trace it. And Sean gives Nadia a call telling her that Arjun is in Rajahmundry. It's all over the news. Someone saw him at a political rally. I'm on my way there right now. He hangs up and Nadia tells Kishore to inform the Rajahmundry police before heading outside. She moves herself to kind of hide behind a car before pulling out her phone and sending a message to someone. Back with Rana, he also learns that Arjun is in Rajahmundry and he sends in his best guy, Khan. Khan gets his message on his little phone and he dresses up as a policeman and hops on his bike and heads to Rajahmundry. Now back with Arjun and Satya. Arjun hands Satya the phone that he had gotten from the spy's shoe, and the phone is password locked. They try 1112 and 2111, but neither of those work. They're going to need his fingerprints, and that's when Arjun remembers that during his fight with this man, his bloodied hands had swiped across his shirt. So Arjun has almost all 10 fingerprints. And Satya is looking at the shirt like, what the fork did you go through? They managed to open the phone by faking the fingerprints that were left on the shirt, and they really only find one thing of importance, a message from Air India that's telling R. Ali and S. Sheikh to check in to their flights. One from Vizag to Kolkata and another one from Kolkata to Chittagong. Satya is confused. Bangladesh? There are 2 names here, R. Ali and S. Sheikh. Do you know them? Arjun shakes his head. He doesn't know anyone with those initials. Arjun, the flight takes off in 3 hours. And then from the corner of his eye in one of his monitors, he sees policemen entering the nursery. Satya tells Arjun that it's time to go and then heads over to his dresser where he pulls out the phone. Arjun, this is an encrypted phone. Call me from this. Arjun hugs his dad, thanking him, takes the phone, and sneaks out the back. The police approach Ramaya asking if they've seen Arjun after showing him like a photo on his phone. And Ramaya nods his head, yes, yeah, right over there. And he points at Arjun's picture that's on the TV behind the police, and the police are like, whatever, dude, and they leave. On the streets of Rajahmundry, Arjun is running. Both the cops and Khan have seen him, and he needs to find a way out of this city fast. He takes off his jacket, gives it to some random man that's on the street, along with 100 rupees to wear it. He then buys a new shirt, a hat, and some sunglasses, and this successfully manages to throw off both Khan and the police. Nadia is now in her car talking to somebody in Rajahmundry? Do the police know? Her conversation gets cut short when Ravi knocks on her window, startling her. She quickly turns the phone so that Ravi can't see who she's talking to, and discreetly ends the phone call before rolling down the window. Ma'am, Arjun has escaped from Rajahmundry. Arjun had managed to find a car that was unsupervised, and he pulled out a little gadget that helped him unlock the car before driving away. After setting a timer for 2 hours, he's speeding down highway after highway towards the airport, and it's a little bit of a miracle that he didn't get pulled over for speeding, but he makes it to the airport with exactly 5 minutes to spare. He sits in the car while trying to figure out how he's going to get through customs without alerting the authorities that he's here. And that's when he sees a customs officer talking on his phone walking behind his car. Arjun gets out of the car, and the next thing the customs officer knows, he's tied up in the trunk of his own car. And Arjun puts on the customs officer's uniform and a pair of glasses that he's found somewhere before seamlessly making his way into the airport. He sneaks a peek at the departure gate for Kolkata and sees that they're calling for final boarding. He can't have that because he needs to see who exactly is on that plane. Arjun uses his encrypted phone to call the people at the flight desk. He says, "Flight number 231 going to Kolkata has a bomb, 30 minutes. And he hangs up. The flight attendants quickly start escorting everyone out of the plane because it's so much better to be safe than sorry. And Arjun is watching as the passengers come out one by one. And then he sees a familiar face. That's Samira's uncle. What is he doing here? Samira's uncle goes into a bathroom and makes a phone call to give an update to somebody. There were some technical problems. I'll leave when the flight is ready. And after hanging up, he takes out the SIM card in his phone and flushes it down the toilet. He then leaves the stall and is about to walk out of the bathroom when Arjun grabs him from behind and pushes him into a wall. "Who are you? Tell me, who are you? Why did you lie? Hey, what is this? Is this cyanide? No. The uncle had taken a cyanide pill that he had in his mouth. The uncle collapses onto the ground, dead. Arjun takes the bag that the uncle was carrying and looks through it, and in it he finds a flight ticket, money, and a passport under the name Rahmat Ali, R. Ali. A fake ID that from this income tax department under the name Krishna Rao, and he also finds a piece of paper with an email, samirashake.dr@gmail.com. Sheikh. Arjun turns the paper around and it's Samira's business card. Arjun has to adjust his glasses a little bit to see if he's actually seeing things correctly, because he pulls out his wallet and then he takes out the business card that Samira had given him when they first met, and everything is the same except for 3 major differences. Samira's last name on the business card that she gave him was Rao instead of Sheikh. The photo on the business card she gave him didn't have her wearing a hijab, and the address of her practice on the business card she gave him was Hyderabad instead of Chittagong. Arjun makes his way out of the bathroom and calls Satya from inside another room. "Arjun, tell me her email ID." samirashake.dr@gmail.com. Satya puts in the email and hits "forgot my password," and these trigger Samira's security questions. "Okay, Arjun, first question, what's the last name?" Sheikh. Nice. Okay, next question. Where was she born? Kolkata? Kolkata or Kolkata? She used to say Kolkata. No, it's wrong. We have 2 more tries. Try Kolkata? No, Arjun, 1 more chance. Think carefully. Arjun looks down at Samira Sheikh's business card, the one that she had hid from him, and sees her address to her practice as Chittagong. Can you try Chittagong? Are you sure? Yes. Okay, good. Got it. Okay. Last question. They're outgoing and they're short-tempered. Who are they? Arjun thinks back to the time that he proposed to her when she had told him that he could be a little short-tempered because he's a Leo, but it's okay. She can marry him regardless. Leo. With that, Satya is able to enter Samira's email, but her inbox is completely empty. There are some mails in the outgoing section, so she has been sending someone something, but hasn't been receiving anything. And when Satya opens up the outgoing mail, it's empty. The mail was sent, but nothing was sent? Arjun is trying to figure out why she would send nothing when he takes a look at his left forearm. He knows for a fact that something is there, but no one else can see it. Dad, highlight the email. Satya starts near the top where the subject of the email is and highlights all the way down to the bottom of the window. And this reveals the same words repeated over and over again. File uploaded. They have to have been uploaded with some other medium. Can you check her Google Drive? Satya goes into Samira's G Drive, and in there is a whole lot of audio files. Satya clicks on one of them and it's Samira's voice. I met Gopi today. I moved into the apartment next to him. He doesn't suspect a thing. He even told me that his name was Arjun. And then another audio file. I met Gopi again today using his birthday as an excuse. I think he likes me. I hid the satellite phone in his kitchen. And then another audio file. Got your message. Sorry for the delay. It's just been taking so long to get close to him. Gopi is the reason. He doesn't trust easily. You sent me to manipulate him. I'm a psychologist, not a magician. It will take time. And another audio file. He almost saw Hamza today at the tailorman. I distracted him. I have his bank details. Arjun Kumar, bank account number 501-029-6496. And then another audio file. I guess our plan is working out. Arjun likes me. Arjun stops listening and tells Satya, Dad, she was the one who gave the bottle of whiskey that I gave to Damodar. I'm sorry, Arjun. I just don't understand why she manipulated you. She didn't manipulate me. She cheated me. And now Arjun is out for blood. He needs to know why she did that and who sent her to do that, and he will end them. Arjun makes his way to a seaport and gets on a boat by handing lots of money, lots of wads of cash, to this boatman. He just bought himself a ticket to Chittagong, Bangladesh via sea. He gets to Chittagong and has to pass through Port Authority, and it seems like most people in Bangladesh don't know his face yet, because he passes through the first security check just fine. But while he's waiting for the second check, he hears the TV to the right of him displaying his photo. Thankfully, there's only one person, a Port Authority officer who's on break, who's paying attention to the news right now. So as long as he can avoid this officer, everything should be good. Arjun gets the papers that he needs from the Port Authority officer by using a fake passport and leaves just in time, because a few more minutes and he would be trying to get his paperwork done from the officer who was watching the news earlier. But the Bangladesh security does get alerted, because the moment that officer sits down for his shift, he sees that the last person to get checked in was Arjun. So he alerts the news and the authorities, and now everybody in Bangladesh is on Arjun's tail. They can't get to him fast enough, because as soon as Arjun passes the gate, though, Lena is waiting for him in her car, and he gets in and they drive off before any officer can even catch a whiff of where they went. Lena, meanwhile, is having the time of her life. She had thought that, being stationed in Bangladesh would be the most boring thing ever, absolutely no action. But now, India's most wanted man is in Bangladesh. And while she's fangirling over him, she gets a call from Nadia. Lena, we have information from Chittagong Port. Arjun is there. Trace him immediately. And Lena, kill him if necessary. Nadia hangs up the phone, and Lena decides to go against Nadia's orders. She's going to help Arjun find out who's behind this. Later that afternoon, she goes to the address that's listed on Samira's business card, and she starts asking around. She approaches the landlord of the building first. Excuse me, is Samira Sheikh available? Her? I don't know. She said that she needed it 6 months ago and then said that she didn't need it 3 days ago. Do you have her contact details by any chance? I have too many incoming calls in the last 3 days. Oh, if you get her call and she contacts you, tell her that Fatima is looking for her. I'll be staying right over there until tomorrow. And Lena points to a hotel that's right across the street. The landlord tells her that he'll let her know if he does indeed hear anything, but when Lena leaves, he stares at her, walking away. And the expression on his face is like, why is someone suddenly inquiring about Samira? Lena goes around for the rest of the afternoon asking more and more people about Samira, and her questions are starting to attract more and more attention from certain people. One of these people was a man sitting in his van, and when Lena passes by him, he makes a phone call to someone. When Lena feels like she's done enough digging, she decides to head back to her room when 3 men grab her right outside her hotel room door. 2 of them hold down her arms while another one stands over her asking her who the fork she is. Lena kicks the man in the crotch, which just angers him some more, so he slaps her across the face and continues the interrogation. But then he gets shot square in the middle of his forehead. Arjun is posted on a building opposite where Lena's hotel room is, and one by one he snipes all 3 of them until they're lying on her hotel room floor, dead. He then heads down to the man that's in the van, you know, the one that was making a phone call earlier, and he knocks on the man's window. The man tries to pull out his gun, but Arjun beats him to it. Arjun's sniper is now pointed directly at this man's forehead. The window gets rolled down and Arjun pulls the trigger, but no bullets come out. What the heck? What's going on? He bangs the sniper against his hand and then fires again, but nothing. The man, seeing this as his chance to run, turns the car on and drives away. Arjun smiles and takes out his phone. He let the man go on purpose because he had attached a tracker to the back of the car, and now he has a nice view of wherever this man decides to go. Lena drives up with her car and Arjun gets in. They're now following the van. Back in India, Sham makes his way to a post office. So earlier when they were taking evidence from Arjun's apartment, they had found the cufflinks that said they had sent Arjun, and Arjun had kept the post packaging for whatever reason. So the address of the post office is still on there. So Sham is at the post office trying to figure out who sent the post. And when he's looking at the CCTV footage, he notices a familiar face. It's one of the local police officers who's helping with finding Arjun. Now, back with Arjun and Lena, they find themselves at this very large house, and they're staking out the location when a bunch of men come out of the house with a bunch of rifles, and they get into a bunch of cars and they drive off. Lena, they're probably searching for us. Cover me while I go inside. I need to know when they come back. Lena adjusts herself so that she can use these X-ray binoculars to see what's inside the house. And this is so that she can guide Arjun through the house to eliminate everybody that's left inside. And that way, Arjun is free to go around the house without worrying about someone shooting him. Arjun successfully makes his way around the house, wiping everyone that he can see out, and he's about to relax when Lena tells him that someone is behind the closed door to his left. Arjun goes after him and manages to cut him off in the backyard. But he freezes. It's a boy, a 14 to 15-year-old boy. Arjun lets the boy go, but this means that he'll have less time than expected because the boy will probably go and alert everybody else. Arjun makes his way through the house room by room, and the things he finds are insane. They have enough ammunition for a little army just lying out in the open. He goes into another room and it's seemingly empty, but as he's walking around, the sound of the wood underneath the rug where his feet hit is different. It sounds rather hollow, and Arjun pushes the rug to the side and finds a trapdoor. He climbs down into the basement, and what he sees there is appalling. Pictures of all the people he's seen, including Samira, are put up on this wall, and there's this gigantic corkboard with a picture of him and plans regarding how they were going to trap him. So really obsessive stalker kind of vibes coming out of this one. He looks around some more when he sees a locker that's locked in the corner of the room. He breaks the lock with the back of his gun and starts looking through the things that are inside of it. Outside, Lena sees all the cars that have left earlier are now coming back, and she tries to contact Arjun via her earpiece, but maybe it's because he's down in the basement. He doesn't hear her. Blissfully unaware of his impending doom, Arjun finds a few things of interest in the drawer. The first is a file with all the information about turning to Hyderabad that someone gave Rana towards the beginning of the film. And he also finds a CD and a VCR. And for those of you who don't know what those are, just know that there are like ways that people used to watch media back in the day, I guess. So he packs these things back up into his bag. Meanwhile, Lena is still trying to contact him with no success when someone attacks her from behind. It's Khan. Him and Lena have a face-off, and Lena is actually able to hold her own very well. Khan is this really, really buff dude, so I gotta say I am very proud of her. The rest of the men who had come back are now going through the house, getting angrier and angrier because all of their teammates are lying dead on the ground. And that's when they see the trapdoor to the basement is wide open. They start heading down when they step on a wire. Back with Khan and Lena, Khan has Lena pinned to the ground and she can't get him off of her. And then Khan freezes. Arjun is behind Khan with the barrel of his gun pointed straight at Khan's head, and both the bomb in the basement and the shot to Khan's head from Arjun's gun go off at the same time. In India, Nadia is stressing out in her room when Arjun's phone starts to ring inside of one of those evidence bags. It's Bhaskar from Axis Bank. Hi Gobi sir, when will you be here for the locker renewal? Nadia goes to see what this locker stuff is for, and she asks Bhaskar why they didn't tell them about this locker when they came to seize all of Arjun Kumar's stuff. And the bank employee is like, what are you talking about? I don't know any Arjun Kumar. This locker is Gopi sir's. Why are you asking about Arjun's stuff? Are they related? Nadia gives him a tight smile before pointing to her ear, basically to say that the question isn't for him and there's somebody on the phone with her at the moment. Back in Bangladesh, Arjun admits a heavily injured Leena to a hospital and then heads to a nearby CD shop and asks them if they have a VCR player. Thankfully, they do have one, and the shop owner leads him to the back before, leaving him in peace to watch his movies. Arjun inserts the VCR into the player and adjusts his glasses before hitting play. The CD talks about Al's past, kind of how they came to be and how they're growing. And it seems like a video that they play to new recruits to catch them up to speed and really drill in the mission of this whole organization. Their goal is to unite the three countries, not only in terms of geography, but also religion. And when we talk about the three countries, we mean Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. Unfortunately, the way they decided to go about it was through violence and India's destruction. The CD ends, and next Arjun plays the cassette. He inserts it, adjusts his glasses, and hits play again. And again, this film has the same feel, like it's meant to be shown for newer members who join their organization. But this one goes a little bit more into depth on, why they're doing it, and it also showcases some of their methods. They want to be able to break India from within, and to do this, they need to get the youth on board. The cassette shows one of the group's leaders, a grandpa, asking a small boy who's holding a gun above his head. So they're doing some sort of training drill with these 10-year-old boys. And the grandpa is like, son, what do you like? The little boy, who's again probably no more than 10 years old, responds, guns. And then he asks another little boy, Sham baby, what do you like? The little boy responds, computers. The man then moves on to a girl who is probably no more than 12 years old, doing the same drill as the two boys. Salma, what do you like? She responds that she likes to play, and the grandpa looks around awkwardly at the camera before asking her in a more sterner voice, Salma, baby, what do you like? She responds guns, and he's satisfied. He then moves on to the man who is the brains behind this whole operation, their expert trainer, their very own Indian who supports this mission, Rana. And that's the first time Arjun sees Rana's face. And he can't. He has to pause the film. He feels like he's going to throw up. We get little flashbacks to Arjun's childhood, and we see the face of his dad slowly get revealed. And it's Rana's face. But that can't be. Satya told him that his father was a patriot, so why would his father be in one of these tapes? So just to give a little bit of clarity, since this story relies a lot on visual gaslighting for the viewers about who the father is. So we never actually got to see Raghuvir's face. Anytime the directors wanted to show Arjun's father's face, it's been a military photo where we see the man who Satya was holding in his arms at the very beginning, a blurred out version of Satya, and then a third person who we really cannot make out because it's just so incredibly blurred out. The only other time we could have gotten a glimpse was when he speaks to his dad for his little birthday rant in the beginning. You know how I said he adjusts the garland around his father's photo frame? But for my audio listeners, you probably didn't see the photo I added in at that moment, but we don't actually get to see the photo, right? We get a view of Arjun's side profile and then the back right corner that's hanging off the wall. Anyway, back to the story. Arjun dials Satya. He needs to know what's going on. Tell me, Arjun. Arjun? What happened? Why did you lie to me about Dad? Arjun, what? Listen to me. Dad, I want the truth. Your dad and I were friends. We met in the Army, Madras Regiment, 4th Battalion. We were wonderful friends, and we had a great bond. Our friendship grew into family when he married my younger sister. And then Dronether was established. Raghuvir was recruited into the Assam division, and I was assigned to Dehradun with my colleague Vijay. You didn't have a mother, so you were kept at the Dilli house as a kid. Your dad would visit you every single month. And the last time you saw him, you gave him this little drawing of the two of you. And one day we got a message from Sikkim. We got to know that classified information was being leaked starting a year ago. To investigate it, I went to Sikkim with my colleague Vijay. We ended up setting up a watch post in the forest, and we saw two men on a bridge looking at a Jeep that was just arriving. The owner of the Jeep turned off his engine and got out with a file in hand. And when he came out of the shadows, we saw his face. Raghavir. He was the one leaking information. Vijay took the binoculars from me and he started getting increasingly anxious because the file was changing hands in front of our very eyes. Vijay fired the first shot and then it was a shit show. Two colleagues that we had come with, both of them were dead, and we managed to kill both of the men Raghavir was with, but then my gun ran out of bullets and I thought I was done for when Raghavir shot my foot. But then he too fell to the ground. We had done it. We had eliminated the threat. I sent Vijay to get the documents near Raghavir's body, but as he was grabbing them, Raghavir turned around and shot Vijay near the heart. He then started to walk towards me to kill me, but then Vijay shot him from behind. That gave me enough time to get to where Vijay was fighting for his life. I took the gun from his hand and fired 2 more shots. He fell off the bridge after that. I didn't just kill your dad. I killed a terrorist. Al, that was your father's identity. He grew up with them. He killed people for them. I got scared that those terrorists would come for you. That's why I changed your identity. Gopi cannot be a terrorist's son. No one knows. Raghavir wasn't a soldier who turned into a terrorist. He was a terrorist in the guise of a soldier. That's why I killed him. I killed him. I killed him. How will you take that much pain to know that somebody you treated as your dad killed your biological father? Arjun wipes his eyes before saying, "He's not dead, Dad." Before Satya can respond, there's a blast from behind him. Satya goes to see what's going on and Arjun is panicking. He saw the blast and through the video call, and now a bullet had punched through the window behind where Satya was minutes ago. Satya's camera falls to the ground and then Raju's face comes into view. The bullet had killed the policeman who had sent the cufflink post. The camera eventually gets picked up and Rana, aka Raghavir, Arjun's biological father, comes into view. He says nothing. He just stares into the camera before pointing his finger at the camera and pulling it towards him. Basically like a hand gesture to say, come here, you better come here ASAP. And then he cuts off the stream. Arjun gets captured by some of Rana's men and is forced to take a boat back to India. And when they land, he gets escorted into this building that's still under construction and they tie him down to a chair. Rana shows up a few minutes later, all smiles, and Arjun only has one question for him. "Where's Dad?" Rana's smile fades. "I'm right in front of you." Arjun asks again, "Where is my father?" "I'm right here." Rana then kisses Arjun on the forehead before sitting down in front of him. "We're going to Mumbai by road and then to Karachi by boat. You can't go to Bangladesh now. You opened all of our operations over there." As expected from my son. Rana gets up from his seat and unties Arjun's hands. Arjun just looks at him and says, "Is that why you tried to kill me?" "I tried to kill you? I spent 20 years in pain because I thought you had died. Do you know how I found out that you were alive? Your application. You wrote that you were my son so proudly in there. And then I confirmed that you were indeed my son. I knew you wouldn't come if I asked. I knew you wouldn't stay if I had asked. I knew you wouldn't agree if I had told you the truth. They brainwashed you for 20 years. It wouldn't be that easy to undo all that conditioning. You were all full of shit, all about my country, the army, Trinetra. If I were to come to you with love, Trinetra and Satya would have made you kill me. And on top of that, they call me a terrorist. But at the end of the day, you're my son. I couldn't just leave you here. I started my plan the moment you joined Trinetra. One shot. I made them all believe that you had killed Damodar and Acharya, and then that would mean that they wouldn't believe you even if you told them the truth, that you had nothing to do with this. They definitely would have killed you. You wouldn't have had friends to talk to, no food, no shelter, and no way to live. If I had brought you to me then, you would have had to accept just to live, and then eventually you would have accepted me because I'm your father. This damn country made a father have to make so many plans just to be with his son. My biggest weapon was Samira. She was one of our best soldiers. I asked her to get close to you, to influence you so that I could find out more about you and Satya. She tried really hard. But apparently you aren't that easy to fool. We surprised Samira on the day of the attack, actually. We asked her to inject you with a drug. But something about her reaction set off warning bells in my head, and I understood that Satya didn't come because of her. If she had just done what I told her, Satya would have died just like Damodar and Acharya. You would have been unconscious, and by the time you opened your eyes, you would have been in front of me. I suspected whether she would drug you or not. I didn't think she would spoil our entire plan. She didn't have the injection in her hand when she came to meet you. But poor Samira didn't know that we were watching, so I implemented Plan B. I wanted to send her to get close to you so that you would get closer to me. But instead, she got close to you and tried to get you to distance yourself from me. And then, after that, you started looking for who was doing this, and I was searching for you. Arjun looks him dead in the eyes and says, "What else?" This angers the shit out of Rana. He drags Arjun outside where Satya is on the ground, heavily beat up. Rana points the gun to Satya's head. Any last words? "So, this is how we meet again, huh, Raghavir? You might be his father, but he is my son. The blood in his veins might be yours, but the character is mine. My name is Rana." And before Satya can respond or Rana can shoot, Arjun calls out to Rana. "Rana, you're right. I'm not that easy to seduce. This is my plan B. Trinetra is always watching." And the camera zooms in onto Arjun's glasses, which has this little tiny camera in it. So basically his very own meta Ray-Ban smart glasses. On the other side of the stream is Nadia with the rest of Trinetra, and they're all watching as Arjun had been filming this whole time. She gives them the go-ahead, and back where Arjun and Rana are, it starts raining bullets. It's a freaking bloodbath because both sides have released fire. And Rana tells one of his men to go get Arjun and the other one to go get a car. And when Arjun refuses to come with him and starts putting up a fight, Rana reminds him one more time that Satya is still in his custody. He puts Satya in a car and drives away while Arjun tries to chase after them. But then Arjun is like, "I need something other than my 2 legs to catch up to them." So he gets into a truck and crashes it into Rana's car. The crash causes all of them to end up with bleeding heads and Satya to end up with a broken arm. Rana drags Satya out of the car and makes him kneel while Arjun is watching. Arjun asks Rana to let his dad go, and Rana says that he will if Arjun comes with him. You know, there's not a whole lot of differences between us. You're holding a gun and I'm holding a gun. You're a spy for Trinetra and I'm a spy for Al. Why is it okay when you do something, but it's so freaking wrong when I do it? Are you really going to shoot your own father? And in response, Arjun loads his gun. "All right, fine, you won't come for me, but you will for sure come for him, right?" And Rana once again points his gun at Satya's head. But this time, Arjun is not the one responding. It's Satya. He won't. He literally signed to sacrifice his life for his country. My life is nothing compared to that. And in a fit of anger, Rana kicks Satya one more time before asking Arjun to make a choice. It's either Satya or him, and Rana pulls out the drawing that Arjun made for him 20 years ago. Arjun hesitates because this is his father, his life's hero. He lived his whole life just trying to be like him. But he remembers Damodar's words about how his dad is his biggest weakness. Arjun tells Rana that what he wants is his country before firing. Rana, the father he had looked up to, dies that day, and even in his dying moments, his eyes are staring at Arjun. Arjun collapses to the ground and sobs. A week later, we see Sham and Arjun talking, and Sham says, "I'm really happy, Arjun, that you're home, and I'm just asking because I'm, a little curious. How did Trinetra find you?" Arjun places his glasses down on the coffee table in front of them. Nadia believed that I was innocent. She made sure that I got a fake passport and the spy glasses at the Vizag airport. She helped me without Trinetra knowing. She was the one who told Lena to help me. Mohammed told her that I tried to help them before the attack, and then she figured out that if both Damodar and I got calls from the same number, then it had to be Satya. She contacted him, and Satya told her about the mole in Trinetra. The mole is the same person who told Rana about my application details. Who was that, Sham? You were the one who put my whiskey bottle on Damodar's desk. You went in search of Satya to the post office to Rajmundry. That means you were the one who told Rana where Satya was. You set up the background check on Samira. Sham is adamantly denying everything. What are you saying? Samira was the one who faked her background. She was the one who set you up. I can't believe that you're falling for this shit. I saw the video, Sham. And he's referring to the film where the grandpa is going around asking all these little kids about what their likes are. And you know how he had asked one child, the kid who had said computers, and his name was Sham. And we finally get to see the mysterious motorcycle man's face. The man who had attacked Mr. Acharya was Sham. The one who had handed Samira the injection was Sham. And the man who killed Samira was also Sham. Arjun gets up to leave, and the moment his back is turned, Sham pulls out his gun, but Arjun interrupts. They're watching Sham. And once again, from the glasses, a live stream is being sent back to HQ. A bullet cuts through the window to Sham's right and lodges itself inside of Sham's head. He is dead. Arjun heads outside where Nadia is waiting for him. She hands him a letter. It's a letter from Samira. It was in your bank locker. And it says, "Dear Gopi, I'm also not who you think I am. I'm honestly really scared to be telling you this, but I love you more than my life now. I thought a lot about how to tell you, and that was when I remembered how you told me. So this is my letter. I love you, Samira Sheikh." Arjun finds himself in the same location where he proposed, and he takes off his engagement ring and drops it into the water underneath. And when he's walking away, he sees Nadia waiting for him. The PM said that he'd give you an official apology. They're just going to say, "I'm sorry," after advertising me as a terrorist to the world? Something like that. "We have a new mission for you." Arjun just walks away. They can't possibly think that he'll come back after all of that, right? But Nadia reminds him about Mr. Acharya's words. I'm not going to bore you with what he said, but just know that it's a whole lot of, we need people who are willing to do anything for what's right. And that's how Arjun finds himself as a Goodachari, aka a spy on a mission in Russia. So, what do you guys think? I personally really loved this movie when it came out, and let me explain. So, I'm not sure if many of you have watched Telugu movies, right? But a lot of the movies that come out are what we call like commercial films, where the hero is like this man who can fight really well, and then he has like a love interest for like 20 minutes of the movie, and then the main plot is there's this bad guy who's like trying to do some really shady shit in the underworld, like dawn world of India, so the black markets of India, right? And he's just like, you know, going around, the hero's going around just fighting these people off left and right. But this story, like a spy thriller, is very rare, I think, in the Telugu movie scene. So it was really nice to see a refreshing story like this, where it was just a man being gaslit for the entirety of the movie. Again, like I said, it's a little bit slow in the beginning, you know, when he's struggling with his training, but I guess he needed some sort of character development. But the cinematography was actually quite good. The only thing that I didn't really like was the blatant lying. Like, I wish they played more games with us that would have increased the rewatchability by a lot. Like, imagine if there were a bunch of Easter eggs kind of like spread across the story, where if we went and we rewatched, you would have been like, yeah, it was obvious that Raghavir had to have been Rana, and that Rana had to have been his father. An opinion that I saw kind of just, you know, like floating around Reddit was that people couldn't believe that a cold-blooded terrorist had like this soft spot for his son. But I don't know, I think it's possible. Like, some parents love their kids like way too much, right? Like, to a point where even if they commit very heinous crimes, they're willing to cover up for it. And I think that's visible, like in a lot of true crime cases, right, where the perpetrator's parents try to protect their kids from going to jail even after something like you know, serial killings or rape. But I would love to hear your opinions, so leave them down in the comments below, and I will see you all next time. Bye!